Great. And the floor is yours, Mr. Watson. You are muted, though.
And just make sure that you're aware. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are meeting tonight under extraordinary circumstances. Our community, along with communities around the country and the world, have been observing social distancing and other health safety related measures to slow the progress of the COVID-19 pandemic for many weeks. To allow normal or near normal operations of city government functions, the governor of New York has declared a disaster emergency and has issued multiple executive orders, and the city of Rochester mayor has issued several local emergency orders, which together authorize the holding of this hearing virtually, subject to the waivers of certain requirements of the New York State Open Meetings Law and the Rochester Zoning Code. In addition, at a prior meeting, we amended the Planning Commission rules and procedures to allow us to conduct this hearing as authorized by the governor's and mayor's emergency orders, and to waive other requirements that allow us to proceed with this hearing as I will now describe. Primarily, the waivers involve the requirements for in-person attendance at this hearing. The emergency orders permit us to hold this hearing by teleconference with no in-person attendance, allow applicant presentations and public testimony by teleconference. Written comments, both in favor or opposed to the application, to be submitted by email, by hand copy documents mailed to the zoning office, or deposited into the secure lockbox located by the permit office of City Hall. The deadline to submit written requests was 5 p.m. Friday, April 9th, 2021. The deadline to register to provide spoken comment was 12 noon today, April 12th, 2021. Although the conduct of this hearing has been altered from some of the normal procedures, many things remain the same. All notifications of this hearing, including mail notice, publication, and the posting of the notice were followed. A staff report has been prepared for each application, and that report, along with the application and other pertinent documents, have been presented to the commission members and posted online several days prior to tonight's meeting. All the normal timeframes for the applicant presentation, comments in favor of or opposition to the application will remain the same. And most importantly, the commission will hear, review, and make decisions about all of the applications with the same diligence and using the same standards as required by the zoning code. Before we would begin, I would like to explain the ground rules of the hearing. When a case is called, the applicant will be allowed 15 minutes to present their case to the commission. The applications were all posted on the city's website at least a week ago and were available for public review. All applicants were advised to ensure that their applications were complete and included all the information that they intend to present at this hearing tonight. As the applications were presented, staff will responsibly as possible identify and show pages of the application that applicant is addressing in their presentation. Following the normal procedure, commission members may ask questions about the application. After the applicant's presentation is complete, staff will read into the record any public comments that were submitted after the staff report was completed and posted on the city's website. First, those in support of the application, then those in opposition. These comments will be limited to 10 minutes if they were submitted by a neighborhood association and 3 minutes by all others. If reading the submitted written comments exceeds the time limit, staff will summarize the comments to fit the time frames. If multiple submissions repeat the same comments, staff will summarize those comments. Public comments that were received in time will be included in the staff report, will not be read into the hearing record. The public also has an opportunity to register in advance to speak at the virtual hearing. After the comments have all been read, the applicant will have 5 minutes to offer any testimony in rebuttal. At the conclusion of the applicant's rebuttal testimony, the case will be closed. However, if the commission determines that there is substantial new evidence that has been presented during the application at the hearing, either during the original or rebuttal testimony, the case will be adjourned and held over to the commission's next announced hearing date in order to give the public an opportunity to review and comment on the new evidence. After completing all the hearings on the agenda tonight, the commission may elect to take a short break, which will be announced after the hearing and break, if any. The commission will commence deliberation and voting on all the applications, except any application that may have been adjourned to another meeting date. Please also note that if there's a case is approved tonight or today, a written decision will be mailed to you within 15 business days. The decision will inform you of the next steps to complete the approval process. Before we hear the first case, please note that we are all volunteers. I would like to have each commissioner to confirm their presence for the purpose of a roll call by establishing a quorum for the hearing, to introduce themselves and to mention the quadrant in which they live. So the commission may start.
Yep. Brad Flower, South District.
Martin, East District.
Eugenio Marlin, South, Northwest.
Richard, I think you're on mute.
Hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, Richard Mauser, Southeast.
Milton Pichardo, Northeast.
Steve Rebholz, East District.
And my name is Dave Watson, Southwest. May we have the first case, please?
This is case number 1. The file number is,
Anna, before
Yes.
we do that, I just need to check and see what someone is.
Oh, sure.
For. Someone on the call named Evan, if you could unmute yourself and let me know what case you're here for. Evan, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know what case you're here for.
I'm sorry, I don't know the case number, but I'm here for Groove Juice Swing.
Say that for me again.
Groove Juice Swing, their application for 295 Gregory Street.
For Gregory Street. Great, thank you.
number 7.
All right, number 7.
Great. So our first case is an official map amendment. The case number is 1. The file number is OMA 2-2021. The address is 37 to 59 Delavan Street. It's located in the CCDB, Center City Base Zoning District. The applicant is Mr. Peter Pape, and the request is to amend the official map by removing a highway reservation to facilitate future development. This is an action requiring City Planning Commission recommendation to City Council. And we have 2 persons with us that the chair will swear in.
All right, to the 2 individuals, I will read the oath and then respond by saying either yes or no, and give us your name and your current mailing address. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony that you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. Peter Pape, C&P Equities, 225 Gibbs Street.
Thank you, Peter.
Excuse me, Jim Quackenbush, Department of Environmental Services Permit Office.
Thank you, Jim. All right, you may proceed, gentlemen.
Yes, again, it's Peter Pape with C&P Equities. We are the owner of the property in question here. Last year, we started to look into develop this 30,000 square foot building. It's 3 stories high, 10,000 square feet each. And we came across that there was a, I call it a right of way. You guys call it, I forget what your proper term, but anyways, with that in there, and it goes back to the 1930s, I believe, running right through our building. We cannot really go out and finance the building or do anything with the building because it has that right away there. Jim could probably tell you more about it. He has the history of it. So we ask that this can be removed so that as we get back on course with the economy, we can develop this building.
All right, thank you, Peter. Jim, any additional information?
Okay, a little background regarding the highway reservation plan. It was a major street plan. Again, to confirm Peter's indication that City Council acted first in 1931, Ordinance 2673. And this ordinance sort of set up a eminent domain in case development in the city required a wider thoroughfare. Now, there have been revisions since then. Original in 1948, there was an ordinance that deleted or added these highway reservation areas. 1963, the latest revision was adopted March 25, 1987, Ordinance 8757. And this particular ordinance references the highway reservation along Peter Pape's property on North Street side. It was part of a official map amendment revising the thoroughfare plan. And let me read from the regarding North Street. From Pleasant Street to the inner loop, a 100-foot widening line was placed on North Street to serve north-south traffic into downtown. That is 8.5 feet on both sides between Amity and University, and 18.5 on the east side between University and the inner loop. This east side of University of North Street between University and the inner loop is the highway reservation we're discussing tonight. The portion of, and there's a lot to it. These highway reservations, the council will eliminate if need be, or reestablish these lines. The portion of North Street between University and Liberty Pole Way has been abandoned as part of the Central Business District Street Improvement Program. So these actions can delete highway reservation areas or continue on with them. Now, in the study, there was pros. The Chestnut extension would increase traffic on North Street, north of University. The con was with the street abandonment and the new Chestnut Street extension to University, there's no need for the widening line. Also, reduced land development potential. And this might be reflecting the case here with Peter Pape. Final recommendation, delete the widening line south of University, but keep the 18.5 widening line between the inner loop and University. So in 1987, the council had followed that and recommended that this line persist. Curiously, this highway reservation, part of Peter's buildings on the property encroach into this highway reservation. And there's no current need for this reservation area. And we ask that this reservation be eliminated.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Anything else? Peter? Okay, if no other additional information, any questions for the applicant? Any questions for the applicant? Hearing none. Jill, is there any testimony that we have for this case? None? Okay. That being said, then we will close this case. And maybe have the next case, please.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And then as a heads up to you, 1, 2. Well, there'll be 5 people that you'll be swearing in.
Okay.
And then I also want to make sure we have all our commissioners present. So it looks like Commissioner Marlin will be leaving us momentarily. And then we've got Commissioner Rebholz. We just need, and then, okay, great. Thanks.
And do I have to state why I'm getting out of the case now or not?
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll have to not participate in this case because the company that I work for has a property in the district, and it won't be proper for me to be part of this discussion.
Thank you. We'll welcome you back later.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that said, this is case number 2. It's a zoning map amendment. The file number is M5-2021. The address is 767 properties located in the Beechwood neighborhood. This is in the R1 low density residential district. The applicant is the City Planning Commission. The project sponsor is Connected Communities. And the request is to amend the zoning map by rezoning 767 properties in the Beechwood neighborhood from R1 low density residential district to R2 medium density residential district. And then the map and address list are attached. And this is an action requiring City Planning Commission recommendation to City Council.
All right. I'm sorry.
David, this is Commissioner Rebholz, and
Yes.
I just want to disclose for the record that SWBR, the company I work for, does have agreements with home leasing. Home leasing is referenced as a partner to Connected Communities in this. I do not have any special knowledge about this case, and I will be participating, and I do not believe I have a conflict of interest.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
And then I have one last thing to tag on. All of the commissioners present who are hearing this case have visited the site or are familiar with the neighborhood.
All right. Now, I will now swear in all those who were here to provide testimony. I believe there should be 5 of you. So when I give you the oath, please respond by giving us your name and your current mailing address for the record. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. My name is Jenna Lawson. I live at 7 Probert Street, and I'm representing the sponsor Connected Communities, which is at 1337 East Main Street.
Thank you, Jenna.
I do. My name is Maureen Duggan. I live at 14 Barrington Park, and I am a volunteer with Connected Communities.
Thank you, Maureen.
I do. My name's Brett Garwood. I'm CEO of Home Leasing. My home address is 300 Dale Road, and the company Home Leasing is located at 700 Clinton Square, downtown Rochester.
Thank you, Brett.
I do. My name is Jennifer Higgins, and I work for Home Leasing, and my home address is 47 Shire Oaks Drive.
Thank you, Jennifer.
And then last we have LaShonda.
I do. My name is LaShonda Leslie Smith. The work address of Connected Communities is 1337 East Main Street, and my home address is 430 Rugby Avenue.
Thank you. Thank you all. And you may now start your presentation.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much to Anna Keller in particular for helping us along through this process. It's kind of the culmination of a lot of what we've done around our comprehensive neighborhood plan. And we definitely couldn't have done it without the city's help. So we'll be presenting this on behalf of the City Planning Commission. Next slide, please. Awesome. So I just wanted to run through some definitions for all of the non-experts watching at home who might be trying to sort out how this proposal will impact them and their families. So the area of Beechwood that we're talking about today is currently zoned as R1. The intended makeup of that zoning is to be low density with primarily single family homes with a mix of pre-existing higher density structures. Medium density is one step up from that, characterized by single and two family dwellings. Multifamily dwellings could be allowed with a special permit, and I'll talk more about what that means later. And I also, just to start out, wanted to be clear about what zoning can and can't do for our community. This process is one of many that will help to revitalize our neighborhood. Some of those processes take place in meetings like this, and some will be early actions or prolonged efforts led by residents to increase resident confidence in ways like establishing standards for behavior, stabilizing vulnerable tenants, and improving relationships between renters and homeowners. Next slide. So before we get into the meat of this presentation, I want to center us on the areas we're talking about. So the light blue shaded areas are the properties that would be changed from R1 to R2. So we're talking about the triangle between Webster, Goodman, and Bay, stopping at Copeland, then across Parcells Ave and down in the southwest of Beechwood with a few properties bordering on Culver on the east. So next slide. So let's talk about what has been here. So historically, this was zoned as R2 from 1975 to 2003. It was changed to R1 in 2003 as an effort by Beechwood residents to increase the number of homeowners. And those homeowners went through a tremendous effort to rezone their community in order to encourage homeownership, and their contribution should be appreciated. I know there's several residents who were part of that movement back in 2003 on this call, and I just want to say thank you to them for their care for the neighborhood. The residents who care enough for their community to go above and beyond to organize are one of the best assets that we have in our community. Next slide. So just to lay out our engagement thus far, this has been kind of a central tenet of our comprehensive neighborhood plan. And when I say our, I speak of Emma and Beechwood. Our entire plan can be viewed at connectedcommunitiesrock.org. So over 1,000 residents and stakeholders received this report with over 15,000 social media impressions, over 1,300 residents engaged during the planning process, and 465 residents who have been engaged since the planning process, because this is very much a living document. In addition, specifically to zoning, we sent out a postcard with more information and a link to our 9-minute educational video to all impacted property owners. We also promoted the video through social media and partner organizations with ties to community residents, and across all the platforms in just about 2 weeks, a little under 2 weeks. This video actually received over 600 views. So that to me shows a remarkable interest and care for our community. Next slide. So let's talk about who lives here now on those properties. So on the 767 lots included in that proposal, there are 370 single family homes. That doesn't necessarily mean they're owner occupied, although they certainly could be, just the same as there are 615 families living in homes with 2 or more units, and 252 of the 767 are double family homes. And 13% of double family homes are actually owner occupied. And then a big thing that stuck out to me immediately was the 101 vacant residential lots contained in this area. So the next slide. So now let's talk about why we're proposing this change tonight. So in the R1 zoning, new buildings with 2 or more units are not permitted with very little exception. The current zoning code doesn't allow homes converted to have 2 or more units to be reoccupied if they've been vacant for more than 9 months. So let me tell you what that means to all the residents at home. So let's say we have a large single family home with 5 bedrooms, and I want to rent out 2 halves of that. So I do everything I need to convert it to that 2 family. But then it goes vacant for 9 months. Even though the setup hasn't changed, it is still in the shape, for all lack of a better term, in a 2-unit home. It is automatically deconverted. And that regulation was hoping to force those doubles to be converted back into owner-occupied single-family homes. But more often than not, it actually resulted in vacant and abandoned homes. So without the tools to help residents get homeowner ready, those opportunities just weren't in reach for a lot of residents. And affordable rental housing that's safe and secure with a connection to broader community and a release from that housing cost burden is an important way to get residents ready to be homeowner ready if that's their goal. So next slide. So, like I said, changing to R2 would permit vacant structures that were converted from single family homes to retain that right, even if they're vacant, and also to potentially convert current single family homes in that similar situation into doubles. The vacant city-owned land could be developed to support a range of housing for both renters and homeowners, bring more bring more residents to our neighborhood to keep eyes on the street, and it's also in line with the Rochester 2034 plan. So an important thing to note about the current R1 zoning is that the only permitted new build, with very little exception, is a single family home. So that means if an existing multifamily or double home were to burn down today, the only thing that could replace it would be a single family home, regardless of lot size. So since the city's demolition tracker went live in 2017, we lost 3 double homes in this area. They were demolished. Those rental units were lost to the neighborhood, but those renters and that need for those rental units don't just disappear. Instead, the competition for the remaining units gets just a little bit tighter. It's a small change, but over time, that ratio continues to shift to lower the supply and increase the demand for rental housing, which can give some absentee landlords the leverage to raise rents or lapse on the safety and quality of their units because they know the demand is tight. To give a little more context, in the entire Beechwood neighborhood, home to over 7,800 residents, there are currently 2 rental units listed on Zillow this morning. Not only are those units not coming back, but new development of any kind are almost non-existent. Since 2003, there has been 1 new build in the entire area we're speaking about tonight. Just 1 in 2018, built by Rochester Housing Charities. So next slide. Let's just take a minute, take a deep breath. I know I need one, and recenter ourselves on the area that we're talking about one more time before I go on to the next slide. So keep that in mind. And then as we hit the next slide, everything lit up there is a vacant lot. So in this slide, you'll see that color-coded map that categorizes the type of developments proposed at each different vacant city-owned lot in our neighborhood according to the comprehensive plan. Again, living document considerations could be made, taking into account that not everything may end up exactly as we intended for a variety of reasons. But not all these vacant lots are created equal. Some are extremely productive community gardens or informal side yards for nearby families with kids. But as I and our team of resident ambassadors and other community volunteers asked residents next to the vacant lots, there were some that were used as informal dumping grounds or cut-throughs or just nothing at all. Residents who participated in this visioning process for the lot showed a remarkable capacity to imagine both rental and home ownership opportunities at the sites. Our final mix of recommendations, which also includes rehabilitations, splits the new investments into 57% rental properties and 43% homeowner occupied developments. That mix would actually represent a 7% increase in home ownership compared to the current rate of 36% home ownership in the short term. And then in the long term, our goal is to use the affordable rental housing created or restored by quality housing partners to decrease transiency and set up renters to become homeowners in the long term by making the most of their relief from their rent burden. Because right now, 58% of Beechwood households are currently housing cost burdened, meaning they're paying more than 30% of their income towards housing. Next slide. Just a last concern that was definitely brought up by some homeowners was, how are you going to stop every single family home from being converted? Luckily, there's something in the zoning code that already does that. So there are, in the case of those conversions, there are minimum standards set for parking, unit size, building size, and lot size. So I can't just divide up a 1,500 square foot house into, 5 different units. You also need to go through a special permit process, which is not unlike what we are doing tonight. Notification to all property owners within 600 feet of the proposal. Again, similar to what we're doing tonight, if you watching have received a piece of certified mail from the city planning commission would go through a presentation. There would be public comment like there would be tonight, and the city planning commission would also vote on that. That's a similar but not exactly the same process as well for how multi-units could be built in this new zoning. All right, so that is it for me, but I'm going to turn it over to home leasing so they can talk a little bit more about what we could expect from a potential affordable rental housing development.
Before you start, Anna, could you give them a time check?
5 minutes.
Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm just buttressing some of the things that Jenna mentioned. Thank you, Jenna. That was a great summary. If you could move to the next slide. So just a little bit about home leasing. We're a family-owned, mission-owned oriented company. We do development, construction, and property management. We employ 200 people, and we're really passionate about creating affordable housing, especially when it's integrated into a community development context. And I have to say, with Jenna's introduction and the history of the planning here, it's really wonderful and special, I think, for us to be part of that planning process. It's at this stage of the game and prior, as we even conceive of what a project might look like. If you can go to the next slide. So we've got a lot of history in Beechwood. We were part of the East Main Street revitalization plan back in 2014. We were part of forming of Connected Communities. Of course, we built Warfield Square. But we're also, a developer that didn't just join this neighborhood for development purposes. We are really excited about all the other activity that's happening and how we are just one component of the things that are going to happen here. So that comprehensive neighborhood planning that's occurred over the last couple of years, we've been very much involved with, and have really appreciated everybody that's participated. We're also partners with Rochester Housing Authority on their Federal Street property with them and Edgemere Development. Go to the next slide. So we don't have a proposal yet that's refined, right? The zoning is the real next step that we need to take to the next level. But what our hopes are is to basically work to implement the plan that was created for the Beechwood and Enema neighborhoods, being part of that broader neighborhood vision, the design properties, design projects that and infill the vacant lots that are consistent with the neighborhood character and consistent with the plan. But also kind of fulfilling the ideas of the 2034 comprehensive plan. If you look at the kind of direction that Jenna described, it is extremely consistent with what the city seems to be saying should happen through the comprehensive plan. We've been identifying 27 sites on which we could build up to 65 affordable rental units. 65, excuse me. It would be a combination of single family homes, attached townhomes, doubles, triples. It's really going to be case by case, trying to do what's right for those individual lots, with the hope that we can create at least 50 affordable rental units. We want to basically provide housing that really complements what exists and expands the different options available to the community. If you go to the next slide. And so this is a distillation of the slide you saw with Jenna, which are our sites. As you can see, they're in the area that that you're rezoning, but are, as Jenna's slide showed, they're just one part of the variety of things that will happen, including home ownership, infill development. And I think the next slide might be my final. So schedule. So rezoning is the real critical path. We don't want to move design forward too much before we know what we're building can be created under the new rules. But we're simultaneously seeking site control through the city of Rochester, which I think wouldn't occur until the zoning is approved either, because they don't want to give us site control on something we can't build. But community engagement is ongoing. I think it's just continues through the planning process, and we'll continue to engage the community as we develop the designs once the zoning is approved. We have to do some environmental due diligence on these 27 sites that'll happen in the summer. Planning and design will begin in the summer and continue into the fall. Our earliest opportunity to seek funding would be by the end of the year or in the spring of 2022. And if all goes well, the project could begin construction in late 2022 or early 2023 with probably a 18-month construction schedule. So I think that's the last of my slides. If you have any questions, hopefully that was close to 5 minutes.
30 more seconds left. Good job.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, ma'am. Any other additional information you want to provide? If not, we'll open it up to questions. Any questions for the applicant? Yes, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, for Brett. Okay, 27 sites, looking to do 65 rental units. So it sounds like you're predominantly looking to make double houses? Is that it?
Yeah, so the 65 is if we built the maximum number of units we feel like we could fit on all the sites, that's the maximum that could be created. I think we want to create at least 50, and my guess is that we'll end up being closer to 50. But yes, I think for the individual sites, it's likely to be doubles. If we have a few sites that have some adjacent vacant properties that we could do attached townhomes that could each have 1 or 2 units in them. There's one site we feel like it's possible that maybe up to 6 units could fit, but this would be predominantly doubles, correct, because of the nature of the sites.
Okay, and maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but the type of units you're talking about, townhomes, where every unit has direct access to outdoor, to the grade.
I call them townhomes just because I have that in my mind in terms of if we had 2 attached units, but we would have individual, my imagination is that we would likely have individual access to the outdoors as opposed to a lobby or apartment building style, right? Because of the, we're not going to have common space in these properties. It's likely to have a door for each unit on the exterior of the building.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? I have a question while everyone is thinking. Could either one of you share with me the response, the percent of the 767 properties? Did you get a response back from any of those about your proposal? And what was their general tenor of response?
Yeah, so I can speak to that a bit. I would say the biggest thing to point out is that, as Anna will read in a moment, I assume, the Beechwood Neighborhood Coalition was strongly in support, as well as like a couple key businesses. I have had some homeowners who, they've put their blood, sweat, and tears and kind of think of the zoning as it wasn't explained to them as kind of a scary overnight process that, could threaten the value of their home, which I completely understand. But kind of the blessing of coming out of that was that we got to share more about what the plan is. So like in the case of Mrs. Dukes, who lives on Copeland, I actually talked to her. I've probably talked to her for about 2 hours at this point. And we're going to be doing a clean sweep on Copeland, led by residents with the goal of kind of trying to build that unity between renters and homeowners. So I would say overwhelmingly, from what I've heard, and especially working with the Beechwood Neighborhood Coalition and the work that we did surveying every single vacant parcel in our parcel by parcel analysis, we have found people who are in support of selective doubles, but overall what this means for the R2. That's not to say that every homeowner is going to 100% support, but I think like we've really done our due diligence to also try to reach that base, because 64% of our residents are renters, so they would not have received a certified letter from the city. So we've tried to make outreach to them as well to make sure that just because they're not a property owner doesn't mean that their voice and their priorities and concerns for the quality and affordability of their rental units is still brought to you today.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Any other questions for the applicant? No other questions? All right, thank you, too. I appreciate it. Anna, I'll turn it over to you to read the testimony that was not in the staff report.
Sure. First things first is we actually have a few members of the public that are going to provide verbal testimony. So what we will do is we'll start off with the neighborhood representative, who is allowed 10 minutes. So we just have to do some behind the scenes moving people over.
And then I think I have to swear them in too, correct, Tom?
Yes.
Thank you.
So Mr. Di Fiore, if you want to just introduce yourself, and then Dave can swear you in.
Sure. Joe Di Fiore, 458 Parcells Avenue.
Thank you, Joe. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You may proceed.
All right. So Joe Di Fiore, I'm with the Beechwood Neighborhood Coalition. That's the neighborhood association that represents the Beechwood neighborhood. So the entirety of this application is within kind of our purview. As Jenna mentioned previously, back in 2003, Beechwood kind of really helped lead the charge to get the neighborhood rezoned as R1. Since then, we've really come a long way in our thinking about how zoning affects our neighborhood, and had a lot of conversations around that. Obviously, with the housing crisis that we're in, et cetera, just the general climate of our neighborhood association, we've had a lot of really good discussions. So we ended up did a lot of advocacy around Rochester 2034, and actually wrote a letter of support supporting those changes that were recommended in that comprehensive plan for this zoning change. And we're really glad to see that it's moving in that direction, and hoping it's going to go even further actually in the comprehensive plan and the zoning update overall. We also work really closely with Connected Communities and some of the other partners on this call to support the Beechwood and Emma comprehensive plan, where again, we wrote a letter of support for that plan to be adopted and recognized by the city. And again, that has these zoning changes in it. And we even went a little bit further than what the comprehensive plan was recommended, with some additional changes that allowed for development by RHA. So I can also speak personally, say I do live on Parcels Avenue, as I noted, and so the home that I live in will be affected by this, and personally I'm in favor as well. But more importantly, Beechwood Neighborhood Coalition, for those of you who don't know us, or those of you who do, we're not kind of like a small group of like 3 people that meet monthly. We're a large, well-organized neighborhood association that's really well established, that can really throw our weight around, if you will, when need be. And this is something that we've come out in support of, and we feel that it is to the benefit of the neighborhood. And I think Jenna did a really great presentation and making a case for why. So in short, I hope that you will give this strong consideration, and of course I hope that it will pass. I don't think I need the remainder of my time.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Anna?
Next, we have Bruce Mellon.
How are you tonight?
Good, Bruce. Let me swear you in. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do so.
All right, you may proceed, sir.
Thank you. I note that the new zoning is going to provide a lot fewer barriers to converting singles to doubles. But what I'm here for, primarily here, is to ask the board the following, because I think it's important. Do every one of the Connected Communities, Beechwood, Emma board members, directors live in the neighborhood affected area? Or do they just own property there? Or are they just interested in developing properties there? Or do they have no ownership relationship to the area? Board members, I would ask each and every Connected Communities, Beechwood and Emma director or leader that question. I would also question why every director or leader of Connected Communities has to sign a confidentiality agreement, including a loyalty and speaking, one that addresses loyalty and speaking with one unified voice, treating basically everyone within Connected Communities like an employee. Realize Connected Communities is also a group promoting development and redevelopment. Some may say gentrification. I would like to, as well as yourself, you asked the question earlier, and I don't think it was really answered. I would want to see the voting results for this rezoning located on a map, whether each owner occupant wants this to happen, whether each non-resident owner wants this to happen, whether each tenant wants this to happen. Is this uniformly wanted, or is this being imposed by this Connected Communities board or other boards without overwhelming support by owner occupants? Owner occupants are the ones with skin in the game that I feel are most important, because I am a president of a neighborhood association. I'm also co-chair of ROCAMNBN, an umbrella organization of neighborhood organizations. So I'm asking yourselves whether the city should be allowing the will of the residents or the will of developers. You know, are you bending to the will of the residents or the will of the developers and the city administration? Because I expect City Council would also ask these same questions. So I suggest getting all these answers well squared away before approving anything. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we have Paul Whitehouse.
Whoops, sorry. Thank you so much for allowing me to address.
David, could you swear? Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Sorry, Dick.
Not a problem. Paul, do you solemnly affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right. And your name
My
and
name
address.
is Paul Whitehouse. I live at 599 Garson Avenue, and I am an owner occupant, and I do have skin in the game. I just want to thank you for allowing me to address you tonight in support of Connected Communities' proposal to change the zoning of these particular parcels from R1 to R2. I support it because our community faces a severe shortage of quality rental property, as well as opportunities for people to establish themselves as homeowners. And one of the most significant factors in an individual or family's stability is well-maintained affordable housing. The restrictions placed on these parcels under R1 zoning severely limits how vacant lots and abandoned properties can be redeveloped. Quality, well-vetted redevelopment proposals, whether for single, double, or multi-unit construction, could not only help alleviate the housing shortage, but with an increase in population, help support local businesses. I think that would be a great benefit. Another drawback to the R1 zoning is a requirement for a double to be returned to single occupancy if vacant for 9 months. I believe R2 would allow such properties to maintain the double occupancy status and thereby not reducing available housing options. With 101 vacant lots in Beechwood, this is a great opportunity to create quality, affordable housing stock, whether single, double, or multi-unit, as rental units or as owner-occupied single residents, while at the same time making available some of these lots for green spaces for play or for community gardens. Our organization, 441 Ministries, is so thankful to have the vacant lot at Parcells and Stout as our community garden. And it has been a blessing to our neighbors. It has helped build community, not only providing fresh produce in a neighborhood that has all the qualities of a food desert, but particularly in the case of single family owner occupied residents, it's my hope that programs can be put in place to enable home ownership for those who may have been left out in the past, and thereby begin to build that generational wealth that so many of us have enjoyed. I truly believe this proposal can go a long way to seeing our Beechwood neighborhood truly flourish, and that it will become a place where its slogan, "Where roots grow deep," can become a real reality. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next we have Chris Holdridge.
Chris, are you there?
I'm here, but I don't think my.
Oh,
Okay.
I see. There you are. Let me swear you in. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may proceed, sir.
Yeah, my name's Chris Holdridge. I'm a owner occupant. I live at 497 Grand Avenue, right in parallel to the Parcells corridor that's in question here. And there's certainly a portion of Grand Avenue that's in this plan as well. I've lived here for about 15 years. I've served on the Beechwood Neighborhood Coalition for many of those years. I'm the founder of 441 Ministries and the pastor of a little neighborhood church here called New City Fellowship. I have my ear to the ground with a lot of owner occupiers here and renters as well. I also have a lot of knowledge of how Connected Communities works as an organization. I'm a former board member as well. And I am here to say that I have a lot of confidence in this plan, the larger development plan, as well as the city's 2034 plan and this little piece of it. And I hope that you'll all consider my testimony to be representative of a large number of neighbors here. We agree that this is an excellent opportunity for development, as Jenna pointed out, new quality housing. We believe that more residents means more diversity and more community, more neighborhood safety, more business development, and therefore more opportunities for jobs. But additionally, I'd really like to speak more to the heart of the proposal this evening. We believe that this proposal gives us an opportunity for deeper generosity and kindness to our fellow residents in Rochester. We have a lot of housing stock here that is not in use. And frankly, it's a shame. We see a lot of housing going up in Rochester, and not to disparage any of that, but it doesn't look to many of our neighbors like it's for them. We have an opportunity here to do some real work to provide some opportunities for people that don't have housing to get it. We know there's a housing shortage in Rochester. It's been recently covered in the news, and we certainly have an affordable housing shortage. And with Connected Communities and their partners' plan here, we have a partial solution to that shortage. We have an opportunity to turn vacant and substandard housing into real opportunities for thriving for our residents.
10 seconds
Beechwood neighborhood. What's that?
10 more seconds.
10. 33 School, East High, Connected Communities, Community Place of Greater Rochester, 441 Ministries. We have lots of opportunities to share with our residents, and we want to do it. Thank you. Sorry.
Not a problem. Thank you, Chris.
And then lastly, we have Molly Garioso.
No, is that Molly at the bottom? Didn't recognize you.
Hey.
Let me swear you in. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And you may proceed.
Thank you. So I am Molly Garioso. I live at 550 Hazelwood Terrace, just outside the map area, actually, that Jenna showed. And I just want to express my full support for this proposed rezoning, both as a resident and as a community planning practitioner. As it's been stated, this zoning change is necessary to help achieve the goals of both the Connected Communities Plan as well as the Rochester 2034 Plan, which have pretty great, aligned goals for quality housing options and increasing those. If you weren't already aware, it's actually required by New York State law that a community's land use regulations be in accordance with its adopted comprehensive plan. If you're a nerd, take a look at Section 28A of New York State General City Law. You'll find it all there. And as a practitioner, I know all too often the zoning changes that we see are reactionary measures when either an opportunity occurs or more often controversy arises. Having previously sat in your position, I know how hard it can be to balance public opinion, policy, and the greater good. This is the importance of planning. The law requires that plans set the stage for regulations, so these decisions are made on sound, well-considered principles of a community rather than arbitrary pressures of citizens. I wasn't going to mention this, but we'll say it's important to note that the decision in the New York Court of Appeals in the 1968 case Udell v. Haas, which has been held up in the decades since, does state that zoning cannot be a Gallup poll. It's a tool to ensure the public good is served as outlined in your adopted and guiding plans. It's not something that's subject to public referenda. With that in mind, I do want to commend the city on both your current citywide rezoning efforts, and I feel that this particular application is very much a good step in the right direction to meeting our housing needs. Outside of law, I'd urge you to consider the context of the neighborhood itself. Many of Rochester's neighborhoods, Beechwood included, were established well before the concept of zoning. They grew organically over time, offering a variety of housing opportunities for residents and families. All of these options, except for single family, are currently prohibited under R1 zoning. So you can see how Beechwood, his zone today, is not working. Jenna has very expertly outlined a lot of this already for you, so I won't go through it all, but we see that, single family only R1 zoning limits the potential for investment. Vacant properties to be either rebuilt or restored, the dollars and cents just aren't there. They don't add up to make that happen. And we have the addition of the red tape under the current zoning now to make it more viable and to really incentivize anyone to put money into it, whether you're a homeowner or someone looking to be a homeowner in the area. I personally feel that this rezoning from R1 to R2 is a modest proposal to rectify this, and it does create more opportunity. You're not opening the door for megaplexes or high rises, but you're allowing for a few more neighbors, a few more eyes on the street, and a few more residents who are going to invest in our community financially and socially. And I agree with all the other great things about building community that I've heard from my other neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly.
Okay,
Anna,
so
anyone else, Anna?
Nope, that's all the people that have signed up to speak. Now I'll read all the written comment. So the staff reports themselves were sent to the Planning Commission on Friday, March 26th. If we had any public comment at that time, those were sent to the Planning Commission with that staff report, and they are posted online. Anything outside of that, we also sent to the Planning Commission, but for the sake of making sure everyone has all the information, I'll read those ones into the record now. So this is from Flower City Habitat for Humanity. Flower City Habitat for Humanity fully supports connected communities and their initiative to rezone portions of the Beechwood neighborhood from R1 back to its original zoning of R2. This mixed model of housing allows for both rental and homeownership opportunities to meet the needs of various households and family types. Quality, affordable rentals can help situate residents to become future homeowners. This mobility within one's immediate place of residence is important for ultimate fabric of the neighborhood. Flower City Habitat for Humanity, as a proud housing partner of the Connected Communities Comprehensive Neighborhood Plan, has plans to build new and renovate existing single-family homes in this neighborhood. Through that process, we plan to make homeownership a possibility to lower-income families in Beechwood. We are committed to the future stabilization and growth in the Beechwood neighborhood, and part of that commitment stems from having well-vetted housing partners collaborate to create collective impact. Connected Communities have organized these partners and put together a solid, comprehensive plan. We are happy to be a part of that plan and support the zoning changes proposed in the neighborhood. Next, we have a letter in support from the Rochester Housing Authority. In 1955, RHA was established as a public benefit corporation under New York State Consolidate laws for public housing. RHA serves more than 22,000 lower income residents and program participants in the 5-county greater Rochester area. RHA operates and manages its housing developments to provide quality, safe, sanitary, affordable housing and social programs to low income families, the elderly, and the disabled. RHA owns and manages approximately 2,250 public housing units within 20 housing developments and 430 scattered site units, which consist of 8 or less units, including 175 single-family homes. Connected Communities has developed a comprehensive plan for the neighborhood, informed by the vision and voices of local residents to guide necessary change and investment while preserving community assets and protecting against the displacement of community members. The plan incorporates recommendations for rehabilitation of existing homes, construction of new mixed-income housing for sale and for rent, and public realm interventions that will support the housing market. RHA has an active participant of their housing committee. To support the development and redevelopment of a variety of housing types, the zoning district should be changed from R1 low-density residential district to R2 medium-density residential district. The Rochester Housing Authority owns 8 properties in the area, encompassing 13 units that will affected by this change. RHA fully supports this rezoning request. Next, we have a comment from Lena Luis Castaneda. Sorry if I butchered your name, Lena. I am Lena Luis Castaneda, the owner of 195 Parcels Ave. I want to vote for the rezoning project plan for the area to move it from R1 to R2. Thank you. And this is from Richard Linder of Melville Street. I oppose the proposed rezoning of a large part of Beechwood neighborhood from R1 to R2 because the R1 classification has helped stabilize the neighborhood. Approximately 20 years ago, the Beechwood Neighborhood Coalition coordinated an effort to change the area zoning from R2 to R1. This effort involved many residents going door to door to obtain the required signatures from at least 51% of the property owners supporting the change. The drive was successfully and ultimately led to the rezoning of the area to R1. This was no small feat considering the number of rental properties, some of which are owned by landlords who live outside the United States. Is the current rezoning request being held to the same standard and thus required to get signatures from at least 51% of the property owners? I question the need for increased density since the city has lost about 10,000 people in the last 20 years. Building new affordable housing on vacant lots is desirable. However, Beechwood's housing is already some of the most affordable in the county, and concentrated poverty creates areas with little hope. Home prices are in a bubble currently, but they will sink again in the future. A stable neighborhood has a much better chance than a fragile neighborhood of pulling through a downtown without becoming a drain on the city. When perusing the Connected Communities website, I came across a map indicating the price per square foot that houses in the neighborhood sold for. I was struck by the large number that sold for between $0 and $25.32 per square foot. I do not believe that any new housing will be built in this price range without at least an additional $100 per square foot subsidy. What does this tell you about the affordability of the area? One of the stated goals of the proposed rezoning plan is to create a diverse housing stock. I would argue that we have some of the most diverse housing stock of any neighborhood of this size in the county. Most of the county is zoned into very segregated areas. It would be difficult to find an area with more diverse housing choices. Beechwood includes single-family houses, 2- and 4-family houses, multifamily apartment buildings, and mixed-use structures with apartments over businesses. The dwelling units also vary considerably in size, offering families choices between small houses or apartments and large ones. The Beechwood neighborhood has been a target area for several city initiatives because it has been a fragile area. 20 years ago, the condition of the neighborhood was not what you see today. There was a very high vacancy rate. People were just walking away from their houses because they could not find buyers and they wanted to get out. Many houses were boarded up. Many storefronts were vacant as well. I'm just checking my time. Many houses took more than a year to sell. The R1 rezoning helped stabilize the area. In addition to fewer vacant structures, rezoning has also led to stabilized property values, more consistent property conditions, less property turnover, quicker property sales, fewer vacant storefronts until the pandemic, fewer gunshots, and less violence. Quality of life is an important measure of the stability and desirability of our neighborhood. You now see less litter, more kids playing outside, and women walking or running alone, demonstrating their perception of personal safety. Unfortunately, that's a 3-minute timeline, but the Planning Commission has been provided with that and it's posted online. To whom it may concern, this is Heather Essen of Melville Street. I'm writing in concern of the rezoning of the properties in the Beechwood neighborhood to an R2 designation. I have been a resident of Beechwood for 12 years. During this time, I've seen great signs that our neighborhood is becoming more of a connected community. As a resident who entered the neighborhood through the Home Rochester program, I know the city has put a large amount of money to improve our area. I see it working. Our neighborhood has attracted more young families in recent years. It is wonderful to see more long-term residents who have a stake in our community. Likewise, it has been great to see more people enjoying what our neighborhood has to offer. Most houses in our neighborhood are on the small side, so I can imagine that a house broken into a few small apartments will not attract people who intend to stay in the neighborhood. With properties being in such demand in the housing market, why let homes be divided that could otherwise be sold to people who intend to reside in the neighborhood rather than manage them from afar? I don't see where this rezoning helps the current residents of Beechwood neighborhood, nor do I see how it would help the city or its residents in general. Let's keep our neighborhood on a healthy path by maintaining longer-term residents in owner-occupied homes, which lower crime rates and increases the quality of life. Thank you for your consideration. Next, we have a comment with a few questions. 1, will this rezoning cause a decrease in my property value? 2, what is the reasoning for the rezoning other than being able to build double dwellings? And 3, do the city have any plans in the near future to tear down or build in this zone? If so, what? Next, we have a comment from an individual named Gail. I think the wholesale rezoning of a large swath of housing may have unintended consequences for the neighborhood. I suggest a case-by-case approach to try to maintain some owner-occupied properties to keep a balance of housing options. This proposal will eventually eliminate single-family homes. No one would want to buy a single-family home in a sea of potential rental properties. The city does not seem to be able to enforce housing codes in many existing absentee landlord properties now. What will happen when with an additional 770? I have been a resident of Beechwood for over 40 plus years and have seen the blight caused by absentee landlords whose only interest is collecting rent with no concern for the quality of life in this area. Most rental residents are transient and would have no long-term interest in the future of Beechwood. 2 houses near me have had owners in Qatar and Australia. Owners of these future rental properties have no concern for quality of life in our community and seemingly no consequences for not complying with Rochester housing codes. I realize we need more affordable housing in Rochester, but think rezoning should be done in a more measured and balanced manner. I think abandoning owner-occupied housing, which this proposal will eventually do, will doom huge areas of Beechwood. Next, we have a comment from Pam Stevens. My name is Pamela Robinson, excuse me. I'm a resident and a homeowner of 136 Parcells Ave. To my understanding, my neighborhood will be rezoned from R1 district to R2 district to allow for two-family homes to be added as permitted use. I'm opposed to this change because my street between Webster Ave and Culver Road is full of multifamily homes. I live next door to a building that has 4 apartments and 2 detached apartments. For the 13 and a half years that I've owned my home next door to this property, it's been nothing but trouble. To this day, I still have issues because the homeowners and tenants do not take pride in where they live or the surrounding area. I feel like this neighborhood needs more single-family homes that are owner-occupied. That is where you will get a more diverse neighborhood full of people that will care about their homes and neighborhoods. Landlords do not care anything about this neighborhood besides getting rent checks. I see that from living next door to a rental property. I have firsthand experience where they can become vindictive when you complain about their tenants and their property for upkeep. I feel as though not enough is done to help the current homeowners with the issues surrounding them when living next door to multifamily units. I ask that you please consider some of this zoning and try to get rid of multifamily units and bring more homeownership to Parcells Ave. The street would be so much better in terms of the diverse group of people that would be more happy to move here and become homeowners. It would give them it more of a neighborhood feel where people would be more happy to get to know their neighbors and talk to each other, look out for each other and such. You can try now, but it's not the same when people have no long-term stake in the neighborhood they reside in. I honestly have contemplated so many times about up and leaving because of the multifamily unit I live next to. I live across the street from an apartment building. It's just always something with the units that have multiple families in them. I just want to add that when you sent out the letter about the rezoning, I was confused because there was not much context behind it as to why it was happening, except that it was proposed, and if you needed to comment, this is who you speak to. I would have been nice to know exactly why this was happening. It wasn't until Connected Communities sent a postcard explaining and outlining that I knew what exactly was happening and why. I said all of this to say, please have my property zoned as is, and maybe if possible, change the zoning for the property next door to me to allow it to be torn down and single-family owner occupied built in its place. Okay, next we have a letter from a few neighbors, but Miss Charlotte Dukes was the one who mailed it in. I'm very concerned resident here on Copeland Street and received your notice dated March 23, 2021 to my husband, Arthur. We are oblivious as to what is behind this letter with no prior knowledge to us as residents that live here. No explanation is given except for the naming of the streets that will be affected. Why would you want to create more congestion and chaos by doing this? We live on a one-way narrow street where parking is already limited. I have trouble getting out of my driveway most of the time because someone has parked where my driveway comes out. This plan is going to create more double homes with more people and cars to deal with. There's open drug dealing on this street to which neighbors have been complaining about for years. The homeowners are not the problem. It is the renters. They show no respect, litter everywhere except their own property. Please tell me how this is going to benefit us. Nothing has been divulged to us going to benefit us. Nothing has about this plan, and still I had to call after getting this letter that came with little to no explanation. You say you want comments. How are residents to comment when they do not know what it is that is being set before them? Also, most residents may not even be knowledgeable about having a virtual meeting, let alone being computer literate. This benefits renters who will be more than happy to stay in an area that caters to their shady needs. If this was Brighton or Pittsford, would you treat the residents here like this? No, you would have had town meetings and sent the residents letters explaining what was going on with opportunities to speak out either for or against it. This has just sprung up on us. How do you provide a map with no ledger? No explanation as to how it will affect homeowners, and no explanation of what the Connected Communities Comprehensive Neighborhood Plan is. I can be reached at, and I spoke with my neighbor Barbara, who resides at Copeland, who feels the same. Next, we have one from Mr. Roger Coleman. I object to the rezoning proposal for the following reasons. Looking at the results of the last rezoning to R1 residential, you will see significant improvements to homes due to owner occupancy. Absentee landlords will not improve their properties. They are profit driven. I look out from my home to see a property owned by a landlord living in Hawaii to see it falling apart. Do they care? No, only if they keep getting their rent money. I believe the neighborhood will stop being improved if absentee landlords own the properties due to rezoning. And I believe that was the last one. Yes, that was the last one. So now the applicant will have the opportunity to rebut.
5 minutes.
Thank you very much. So I'll start, and then if anyone from home leasing or else on our team wants to join in, I think that'd be great. So I wanted to start out by saying, unfortunately, the reality is that since 2000, the average home value has decreased when you account for inflation by 21%. Just kind of speaking to some of the anecdotal comments from some of the speakers. And as well as I just wanted to mention that 49% of renters do not have cars, because I know that there were some mentions about the strain that this could put on parking. But again, like I mentioned in my presentation, there are some limits that are there to assure that if a parking needs study needs to be done, that would be done on a case-by-case basis. Again, just saying like this is the first step for us to investigate what is possible. And it's by far from the last opportunity for public input on this topic. I also wanted to mention the 35 Habitat for Humanity homes that are part of this plan. Actually, for Mrs. Robinson and Mrs. Dukes, those are the actually only developments proposed near them on the vacant sites. So I wanted to mention that. When I talked with Mrs. Dukes, she was actually really excited to learn about that and then started to ask me about the process for how someone becomes an owner through Habitat for Humanity. So it was really a nice opportunity to kind of clear up some of that confusion. Thank you to Mr. Mellon for asking how our board works really, and I'll let LaShonda jump in on that later after I'm finished if she would like to further elaborate. We actually have a voting block of 4 residents who serve on our board, our executive board, without whom no resolution can pass. So resident kind of consent is built into the very fabric of how Connected Communities works. Let's see. Oh, I also just wanted to point to the conditions of survival that we've seen as Connected Communities has shifted to serve renters and to try to increase housing stability for people who are vulnerable during the COVID pandemic. The number of times that I have seen or heard renters cry over the conditions of their properties and feel that their landlord knew that they didn't have any other opportunities and that moving was hard. As recently as last week, someone said that they felt that that was what was being leveraged to keep them in a month-to-month lease, where the landlord was unfortunately felt that he could raise her rent whenever he wanted without any kind of threat of retribution. There are 110 vacant structures in our neighborhood. I just wanted to point that out when we talk about more flexibility in the available uses. I've surveyed each one of them myself, and I actually went through and interviewed code enforcement about each of the lots to find out what is the situation. Is this a landlord who's smaller and got in over his head who could use some help from our landlord fund? Or is this a situation where they may be collecting paper losses? And we were actually able to kind of connect some of those properties over to partners like Greater Rochester Housing Partnership, who worked on private acquisitions to try to get those vacant properties back up and on the tax roll and productive and home to some great first-time home buyers, which was really great. I know there was a comment about a case-by-case basis. Unfortunately, this is considered spot zoning, which I imagine the commissioners are all pretty familiar with, which is not legal. Unfortunately, I totally understand the implication of wanting to do something on a case-by-case basis. And then let me see. Oh, I also just again wanted to thank Mrs. Robinson for pointing out that Connected Communities postcard was at least helpful to her in understanding the proposal better. I was really happy to see that some of the outreach that we've tried to do to supplement the city's process was useful. So now I guess if anyone else on our team, on our proposal committee has any comments, pass it to them.
I guess I'll just add a couple quick things. A lot of the comments of concern have to do with the quality of rental housing and the quality of the providers of rental housing in the neighborhood. And I think one of the great benefits of the planning effort that's happening, and one of the great benefits of planning that's so connected to zoning, is that you create the zoning that allows the neighborhood to be built and continued to be developed in a way that's consistent with its history and consistent with how it was successful in the past. And you also provide a strong signal to the market of what you want, and you can attract higher quality owners and higher quality landlords. Home leasing is a good example, I believe, and we are anything but an absentee landlord. We were founded here more than 50 years ago, and we're awfully easy to find if anybody's needing us.
All right, anyone else? Thank you all. Appreciate that. With that being said, we will close this case and we will have the next case. Thank you all. Thank you, Anna.
Yep. And then as a heads up, there will be 3 people to swear in on this next case.
Okay.
This next case is a subdivision. It's number 3. The file number is S3-2021. The address is 200 Clifford Ave. The request is to subdivide 200 Clifford Ave into 2 parcels to facilitate the Pueblo Nuevo Phase 2 project, where one of the newly subdivided parcels will not have frontage or a driveway on an existing improved public street. An action requiring City Planning Commission approval. And I have here that all present commissioners have visited the site.
All right, and for those who will be speaking, I will swear you in, and then you will give us your name, your response, and your current mailing address.
I think Matt is our behind the scenes technology guy, still getting them over here.
Oh, okay.
So we'll just give him a minute to catch up with me.
Anna, I'm unable to move the attendees over.
Okay. I can help you.
Just make sure I'm still okay to do that. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's strange. What's going on? Okay. I think it was just a caller.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you see me?
No. We can hear you from your phone, so you might. Okay, now we can see you.
Okay, sorry.
And is Stephanie joining you guys? Or is it just you and Charlie?
Might just be me and Charlie. Stephanie was going to join, I think, too, but.
Okay, no worries. So just 2 people to swear in, Dave.
Okay, I will swear you in, and then give us your name and your current mailing address. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do. And my name is Link Swedrock with BME Associates. We're in 10 Lithbridge Lane, Fairport, New York. And my mailing address is Sweets Corners in Fairport, New York as well.
Thank you, Link.
So you're welcome. So like you said, we're here tonight.
Wait, Link, I want to just get Charlie an opportunity to be sworn in as well.
Okay, sure.
I do. Charlie Oster. My home address is 178 Woodstock Road in the city of Rochester. I work for Edgemere Development, and we are the consulting developer on the project, and our company's address is 277 Alexander Street.
Thank you, Charlie. You may proceed, gentlemen.
Okay, again, Link Swedrock with BME. We're here tonight to request a subdivision of 200 Clifford Avenue and 208 to 214 Clifford Avenue. We're doing this as part of the Pueblo Nuevo 2 project, which is Pueblo 2 is 29 scattered sites, 12 two-family, 24 units, and 5 single-family units. And it's what we're proposing is an adaptive reuse to 200 Clifford, and we're creating the El Camino Community Center. Based on the New York State Homes and Community Renewal Design Handbook, this was part of what we were looking to do for the project for Pueblo Nuevo. What we're doing is subdividing off the rear of the building that's behind 208, 214 Clifford, creating 3 lots. One of the lots is basically the existing front of the building, which is 208 to 214 Clifford. There it is. So basically that demising wall, or the original lot line in the back, wasn't on the demising wall there, so we're re-subdividing that to be on the firewall. We're creating lot 3, which is going to be part of the Pueblo Nuevo project, with that building is being rehabbed to provide some benefits for the Pueblo Nuevo project. It needed to be broken out separately, as the remaining front building will remain with the current entity Ibero-American. And then lot 1, which is 200 Clifford, will be the remaining of the lands. And we will be placing an easement over that, reciprocal access parking easement, to serve all 3 of these parcels. Because we didn't have legal frontage to the road, this needed to come to the Planning Commission for review. However, we are, the lot 1 is serving for the access with that ingress and egress easement for parking and sidewalks and all that access. The utilities are also, we are extending all new utilities to serve the building that'll be on lot 3. We're bringing sewer and water off of Roth Street to the east, down at the bottom of your page, and then the electric and gas, which already is in the building, will be separated with separate gas and electric meters. We've reviewed this with the Water Bureau, the Pure Waters, and the Health Department, that they are okay with what we're proposing as part of our review with the city staff. The building itself, we are renovating it to provide common space for the space will be available for the Pueblo Nuevo project as well as for the community itself. And we're providing community areas, multi-purpose rooms, an office space, incubator offices for people uses and business uses for the neighborhood, conference rooms, bathrooms, a reception area, and a copy room will be part of the renovations within the building. So I guess I think that's about covering what we're looking. Because of the subdivision requirement was basically, this was a requirement of the lender to separate the parcel for the New York State Housing and Community Renewal, to create a separate parcel to be part of the project, which is basically why we need to subdivide that off. But we feel we're meeting the intent of the access and the parking by providing the reciprocal easement. So I think I will keep under my 15 minutes and be here if Charlie has anything to add, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the Planning Commission has.
Thank you, Link. Charlie, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
No, nothing to add. Thank you, Link, for covering it, and happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. At this time, any questions for the applicant?
This is Steve Rebholz, and
Yes,
just
Steve.
a question to clarify the access from Roth Street. Is that just for the utilities?
Correct. It's utility easement for the sewer and water to come in off of Roth Street. It's not a part of the subdivision. The subdivision is just for the building itself.
Okay, so the Roth Street parcel is not part of the lot 3.
Correct, and I
Okay.
think that there was maybe some confusion in the letter that was in the report, but there's the second letter, it was revised because that we were only able to get an easement there, so that's just an easement.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Any other questions? Seeing none, Anna, do we have any testimony?
No testimony.
No?
No.
Nope, okay. That being said, then we will close this case.
Did
Thank you,
we
gentlemen.
remark on here that who attended this, looked at the site? Maybe you did and I missed it.
All present commissioners have visited the site. I'm not going to even try to remember whether I'm not 9 cases tonight. I'm not going to repeat it.
Okay, that being said, we will close this case and we will have the next case. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I just want to give Eugenio a moment to join us.
Yes, thank you.
Eugenio, when you're with us, just give us a sign of life, please. I miss the days when we could just go in the hall and grab him.
I could try to give him a call.
Okay. I just texted him, but that might be helpful too.
Okay. Yeah. Double. Buenas noches, honey. Estamos ready ya para usted. Okay. Okay. He said he's coming.
Thanks for doing that. Dave, there'll just be one person that you're swearing in.
Thanks. Have you read the case?
I just want, oh, here he is. Perfect. Okay.
Right.
Case number 4, file number E18-2021. This is a special permit at 20 Roar Street. The applicant is Chris Scott. The request is to establish a warehouse for personal use, a non-conforming use in an existing building, not designed for permitted use in the R1 low-density residential district, with hours of operation limited to 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., an action requiring City Planning Commission approval. And I have here that all present commissioners have visited the site.
Okay, and I will swear in the applicant. Once you get sworn in, give us your name and your current mailing address for the record. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. My name is Chris Scott. My address is 4 Lamont Place.
Okay, thank you, Chris. You may proceed.
Yes. Well, my name is Chris. I just bought this building. It's my first building, my first property I own. I got it because I got a lot of cars, a lot of stuff for my kids and whatnot. I just didn't want to keep putting stuff in my backyard or in my living room or my basement. So I figure, I got 3 kids. I'm trying to make something happen for my kids and whatnot. So I figured I'd buy a building and that way I ain't got to keep putting stuff at everybody's house. I bought it so I could put my kids' bounce house, their bikes, their bikes, everything inside of a garage. That way I ain't got to keep paying nobody so nobody can't steal their stuff. I got so much stuff that I got took it from me in the past years that I got to keep buying it. I got an 11-year-old, a 3-year-old, and I got an 8-year-old. So I'm trying to do everything for them. Like I said, it's my first property. And you know what I mean? I'm not into the streets. I go to church, whatnot. So family man. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't do none of that. And that's I don't know what else that's all I gotta say. I don't know. Well, I grew up in the church, you know. I go to church to this day. I go to Miracle Valley Bishop James Hartsfield Church. And my dad is a deacon there. So you know what I mean? I grew up in the church. I just don't first property. I'm happy about my first property. I definitely want to fix it up the right way. I got to fix it up and do the right things.
Okay, anything else you'd like to share with us?
I was I got the statement that the lady I wrote about, you know what I mean, the area that we stay in, I mean, drugs and whatnot. Like, I'm not into no drugs. I'm not, I read her concerns. I understand about her concerns, but I'm not into none of that. No drugs, none of that. Like, I don't do it myself, so I don't condone into it. My kids grew up the right way. So I see where she coming from. It's just where my building at and where she was staying is at, mainly on First Street. And I'm on Roar, the block over, you know, so I understand it's drugs and stuff everywhere. I'm not into none of that stuff. So that's one thing she don't got to worry about. If she was to ever come see my building or whatnot, she more than welcome to come see the building whenever she want to. It's like, you know what I mean? I'm not into nothing dangerous, not no street dude, none of that. Like, I work at Home Depot, and just my first property. I got 3 kids.
All right, thank you, sir. We'll see if we have any questions for you. Any questions for the applicant?
I do.
Yes, go ahead, Eugenio.
Yeah. I would like to know what long-term plans does he have for that property other than storing things for his family?
So I can talk.
Yes.
Okay. So long term, I mean, if I down the line, like right now, I'm just focused on like storing stuff for my kids and whatnot. I got cars. I definitely want to become a dealer so I can sell cars. I don't know what I would have to do to make my property that so I can sell stuff, but I definitely want to bring in some type of money down the line for my kids. Say if I do want to leave Home Depot and fix my building up, you know, I definitely want to do things with the building, make it stand out. So it just won't be all plain. Right now, just plain the parking lot. I definitely want to do something with it, just so I could if I can make money with it, and if I can get the right permits for it to make the money for my kids in the long run, I'm definitely willing to do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
One comment about that is the way Mr. Scott got here today was he had to go through the certificate of nonconformity process, which basically means that he has a commercial building in a residential district. So he's proposing a use that's not ordinarily allowed in this district, but because the building itself doesn't conform to the district, we can see what we can do through evaluating the intensity of the use. So he went through a process where we evaluated all components of his proposed use to see whether or not what he's proposing, what kind of impact it would have on the neighborhood, specifically comparing to what it previously was. So if Mr. Scott ever wanted to change the use, he would have to go through that same process again, and the use would be evaluated in its intensity. So auto-related things are going to have a little bit more of an intensity versus being a warehouse, and probably subject to, you know, it would be hard to swing whether or not that would be allowed, given that it's a pretty low intensity use right now.
And what's the use right now?
Yes, Tom.
Right now, the building's vacant, and he's proposing a warehouse for personal storage only. Previously, it was a warehouse for contractor storage. So for
Okay, so that's what it's being compared for.
Correct.
For the CNC use for a prior use was contractor storage.
Correct. Yep. So before it was vacant, exactly, it was contractor storage, and we evaluated its intensity against that, and he was awarded this certificate of conformity because it was less intense than that contractor storage.
All right, any other questions for the applicant?
I do, Dave.
Yes, go
hey,
ahead,
Chris, thanks for coming on today.
How you doing?
And talking about the warehouse. Question for you. You mentioned vehicles. Can you walk us through a little bit what types of cars? I don't need makes and models. I'm just curious to know how many there might be at any given time. Do you have them all registered? Are they not registered? Stuff like that.
Yes, right now I currently got 3 of them on the road. I like nice cars, so I put rims and stuff on cars. I get tired of parking my cars outside, taking my rims and stuff off the cars, on and off in the winter, putting covers on them. And I got like a lot of nice cars, so I just want to. I figure I buy a garage. Be quiet, I'm on the computer, y'all. I figure I buy a garage, and so I ain't got to keep going through the hassle of taking my rims and stuff off my cars. And so I got a garage, and I put them in the garage, so it limited me the time of me taking the rims off, putting them back on. And in the cold, I don't like to do nothing in the cold. It's too cold out there. So if it's snow out there and the rims out there in the car or something, it just got to stay like that. It got to get rusty. And so I don't like that. I don't like this stuff in the cold. So I buy a building. That way I could be inside of a building. If I got to swap something out, I can do it inside of a building where it's got a little heat in it, a little light. Because once the snow come, it just covered up the snow. It's just going to sit like that for the next 5 months. That's all, you know what I mean? That's
Gotcha.
all I'm trying to do.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I think in addition to that question, I had a question. When I was out there on site Saturday, there was a limousine and I believe a truck that were parked in the yard. Do those belong to you? And are
Yes.
they licensed? Do they have license?
Yes, they on the road. Like I said, the white truck, my dad, like I said, I go to Miracle Valley. It's a church. I don't know if you heard of that, Bishop James Harsfield. I go to church, and my dad, he's a deacon. He got his own security business. So when I've been over there, me and my little brother and my dad, we've been over there cleaning the property up and like got stuff inside the garage. So I figured my dad, the limo is on the road and his truck is on the road. I figured he'd bring it over there. So if they see stuff over there, people won't break into the building right now. Because right now it's no electric over there. And if you go past there at nighttime, it's so dark back there, you can't see nothing. So I figured my dad got his own security. He got his own security license, his security business. He got his car by the gate. So if people walk past and see the car, they'd be like, well, somebody using this building right here. The car is here. And we don't want to go up. We don't want to go up in there and try to break in it. So that's the only reason why I got his stuff there. Usually they be at the church. My church is located on North Street, North right there by Wells. So usually they be at the church. But since I just got the building, the pastor and everybody, like just bring something over there so people can see that it's somebody doing something with the building, so nobody want to break in there and tear it up. So that's all. But yes, they my dad car and the limo, they is on the road. I can move them whenever. I just got them there for now, at least until I get some lighting over there. There's no light over there and it's so dark. And how much break-ins that people do in Rochester and around the neighborhood where it's Bay Street, I'd rather, you know what I mean, put something there so nobody break in it and take the stuff that I work hard for, putting it in there.
Okay, yeah, I guess that was my concern. So if I understand you correctly, is that once you get lights and get the building usable, those vehicles will be parked in the garage?
Yes, the limo will go back to my church.
Oh, okay.
They usually be at the church, and then my dad's security, his security truck, it usually be with the lights that just sit right in the front until I get some electric in the building. Though I can get some lights over there, at least an alarm on the building, so can't nobody break in the building. Right now, when they see the security truck, it's probably scare them off. Like, okay, security truck, we don't want to break in this because we don't know if somebody watching or whatnot. And you know, I talked to the neighbors, a couple of them. They definitely been looking out for me. If they see anything, they got my phone number. They give me a call as of now until at least get some light over there, some electricity.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
I think that was going to be my question. Go ahead. I'll share. Are you done? I was going to be my question to you or Ann. When he still have to go through the building permit process. When he mentioned that he may use the space to do some work in the winter, from a safety standpoint, I just want to make. I don't know if there's going to be any alarms and things like that, smoke detectors and so on. Just concerned, like you say, he have kids, they go in and he's working in the car is on, so on.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm trying to get. I want to get electric over there so I can put an alarm, smoke detectors, everything in there. Like I won't be fixing on stuff. See, that's limiting me space where I got the garage. I don't gotta be taking my rims and stuff off the cars. I can just put them right in the garage and leave them right there as it sits. But by me being them outside, I got to keep taking my stuff off put my factory rims on and stuff like that. So if I was to use it to swap anything off, yes, I would have an alarm, smoke detectors. I would bring it up to code, the stuff I need to do. Because I want to be in there, especially if I know I got kids. My youngest is 3 and he get into everything. So I
Right.
definitely want to have something up to code, or have to have whoever I got to bring over there to make sure that fire alarms, everything is done up the right way. So if anything in the future was ever happen with the building, I would have everything already ready and established.
So yeah, his next step after this would be to apply for a building permit, and at that time, his floor plan
Right.
would be reviewed against by a plans examiner against the use requirements with New York State Building Code for a warehouse, and then there would
Right.
also be a separate electrical permit that would be conducted by a licensed electrician.
Okay.
All right, any other questions for the applicant? All right, seeing none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you guys a lot. I appreciate you guys' time. And you guys have a blessed day.
Thank you. And we will close this case and we will have the next case, please, Anna.
Sure thing. And there should be 2 people
Okay.
to swear in on this one.
All right.
That's it. I'm done. I don't know.
Yep,
what to do
you're
here.
done.
So do I just close it out?
You can close it out.
We have 2 individuals from Marathon, and I don't know who is here, Eric or Matt. Which one of you is which for which case? I moved both of you over. You can go ahead and unmute, and we can reassign as necessary.
This is Eric Schaff. I'll be appearing for case number 5, Glide Street. Matt will be doing the next case, case 6, ESL.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is case number 5, file number E19-2021. It's a special permit for 685 Glide Street. The request is to establish a 9-space ancillary parking lot to serve the bar and restaurant with proposed limited entertainment, Pashy's Bar and Grill, located at 673 Glide Street, an action requiring City Planning Commission approval.
All right, Eric, let me swear you in. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony that you are about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir, I do.
And give us your full name and your current mailing address, please.
Eric Schaff. Mail can be addressed Marathon Engineering, 39 Cascade Drive, Rochester, 14614.
Thank you. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you. This will be a very short presentation, and we're going to request that this application be held till the next meeting. This application was specifically written for the parking lot. Some issues have come up with the business that's associated with the parking lot. And the tenant, my client is the landlord. The tenant, I understand, will be making application. So there will be 2 related but separate applications. And in the interest of cohesion, continuity, and to avoid confusion, we're going to try and do those at the same meeting. So I respectfully request that this application be tabled tonight.
Okay, sir. Let me take a quick vote for those who are commissioners who are here. Any commissioners or all commissioners who wish to hold this over till the next meeting, indicate by raising your hand.
Or could we just call the roll?
Oh, okay, Anna,
Yeah,
you want
just
to
so
do
that
that?
it's clear, yeah.
Anna, please do that.
Commissioner Flower,
Yes for holding.
Commissioner Harding,
Yes.
Commissioner Marlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Pichardo,
Yes.
and Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Great.
So that being said, you'll.
With that being said, we will, it looks like that by a vote of, 5-0-0, the motion passes in the affirmative to hold this letter or hold this item. The only thing is we did receive a fair amount of public comment, and out of respect to the commenters in the process, Tom, you would like me to still continue?
Well, is there anyone live that's
Nope, it's
trying
just
to
written comment.
participate?
It's just written.
Then I think just as long as all those letters get put in the staff report for when it gets reheard.
Okay.
I think we're all right then.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
That works for me.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Yes, thank you,
Good
Eric.
night.
Saving your voice, Anna.
Oh my gosh, my voice is done after case number 2.
All right, well, next case, please.
Yes. Sorry, wrong one. And we've got Steve present. Thank you for joining us.
I think I have to go, right?
Yes. Yeah, you can just say that you're recusing yourself.
You have a conflict? Commissioner Harding?
Okay, so this is case number 6. The file number is E2020-21. It's a special permit. The applicant is Trish Rizzone of ESL Federal Credit Union, and the request is to consider a parking demand for 19 spaces, which is in excess of 110% of the parking requirement to serve the proposed bank with drive-through, an action requiring City Planning Commission approval. And one moment. Commissioners Flower, Marlin, Pichardo, and Watson visited this site. Commissioner Rebholz did not.
Okay. And is Matthew the one I'll be swearing in?
Looks like Matt's got a team with him, but I'll let Kim say her parting
Okay.
words.
Well, I will swear you in, and everyone who will be speaking, give us your name. I'm sorry, Tom.
David, just let Kim. She's recusing herself because of a business conflict.
Oh, I'm sorry. I interrupted her.
Yeah.
Yeah, ESL is an active client of my firm, Nixon Peabody, so I'm going to step away, recuse myself from this one.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. What I will do, I will swear in all of those of you who are present. And if you're speaking, please give us your name and your current mailing address for the record, and then you may proceed. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Peter Woods. I work at ESL, 225 Chestnut Street, and I live at 15 Harvard Street.
Thank you, Peter.
I do. I work at ESL Federal Credit Union, 225 Chestnut Street. I live at 9 Hampshire Lane, Mendon.
And your name again, I'm sorry?
Trish Rizzone.
Trish, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
I do. Joe Burkhart. I'm with NPV. Mailing address is P.O. Box 215, Fairport, New York.
Thank you, Joel.
And Matt Tomlinson, Marathon Engineering. I do 39 Cascade Drive.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Great, thanks everyone. Anna, if we can go to, I think it's page 15 of the staff report that has the site plan. I'll speak to that while I'm talking here. Yeah, perfect, thanks. So as said, I'm Matt Tomlinson, Marathon Engineering. We have been working with city staff over the last several months in the various city departments working on this site plan and approval path for this project. And this is kind of the last step in completing our approvals for a proposed ESL branch. This is at 250 Lake Avenue, just south of the intersection with Lorimer Street on the east side of the road. We're proposing a 5,600 square foot branch with a detached 2 ATM, 2 remote teller drive-through as well. This branch is a relocation of the current State Street branch, which is within the Kodak building. That currently has very limited parking, limited visibility, and this new branch will complete or provide the ESL branding in a larger service to this area of the city. I know that the board has seen the proposed site plan and findings, so I just wanted to walk through what we're requesting tonight, which is a parking waiver for a total of 31 spaces. That roughly equates to 13 staff and 15 to 18 members, which is the maximum that is typically seen during busy times at branches. ESL obviously has many locations throughout Monroe County and the surrounding area, but 2 specific similar branches or uses most
Comparable is the Merchants in Witten branch, which has a similar configuration of ATM and drive-through. And the branch size is very similar as well. That provides 45 spaces, so we're slightly less than what is provided over there. And then at the corporate building at Chestnut Street, there's 38 spaces in the surface lot over there. That does service more than just the typical branch activity with mortgage or loan closings, but also has a parking garage immediately adjacent for staff. So there's some comparables there. We feel that this particular location is providing several modes of transportation to the site, including accommodations for bike parking. There's an RTS bus stop immediately in front of the branch, as well as orienting the main entrance of the branch to pedestrians out at the street. However, in this area, and part of the reason for requesting this waiver is to provide a great level of service to ESL's members, in that there is no proximate on-street parking or overflow parking lots immediately adjacent to it with private businesses occupying the north and south neighbors. So it's pretty critical to the function of the branch and service to the members that there's always at least a parking space or two available so that they're not having to pull in, circulate, come out, or do something similar to wait for parking spaces. So again, the number that we're requesting, we believe, is in compliance with all of the waiver requirements for the special permit standards, and will provide a great function for the branch. With that, I wanted to turn it over for any questions that the board may have, and I think if I can't answer it, I'm sure a member of the team can.
All right, thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. At this time, are there any questions for the applicant? Any questions? Hearing none. We will go to testimony if we have any, Anna.
No testimony.
Comments?
No testimony.
Okay. With that being said, thank you, gentlemen and lady, for your presentation. And so we will close this case, and maybe we have the next case, please.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Case number 7, file number E2021-2021. This is a staff report. The request is to consider an alternative parking plan for 11 spaces to serve the proposed public and semi-public use Groove Juice Swing with public entertainment, and action requiring City Planning Commission approval.
Did we get Tanya back?
Thank you. 1 second. And while we're waiting for her to hop back on, Commissioners Flower, Harding, Marlin, Pichardo, and Watson have all visited the site, and they'll be the ones deliberating on this item.
And how many speakers will we have?
I believe we have 3.
Or presenters. Okay. Yep, Tanya's back. Okay. Are the three?
Are we ready to go?
Yep.
Yes, we're ready. I will swear you in.
Okay.
And then introduce yourselves, and then give us your name and your address for the record, and then we'll let you move forward. First, I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
My name is Mike Tebow, and I reside at 49 Browncroft Boulevard.
Thank you, Mike.
And my name is Arden Tolucci, and I reside at 2251 East Main Street, City of Rochester.
Thank you, Art.
And I do. My name is Randall Peacock, and my office is located at 70 Linden Oaks, Suite 110 in Rochester, New York.
Thank you, Randall. All right, you may proceed, gentlemen.
Okay, well, thank you for having us tonight. I'd just like to start with a couple of preliminary comments and, if you will, cleanups. First of all, in our application, we mentioned that we would have a letter of agreement for use of the St. Boniface parking lot at certain times. We anticipated that we would have that by the hearing. We don't. The administration has changed there. We're still working on it. So for the purposes of tonight's hearing, I guess just exclude reference to it. The other thing I wanted to be clear on was that the 18 spaces adjacent to the building are on the adjacent property. The whole cluster of properties in that corner is owned by one singular individual. And those 18 spaces are for use by Groove Juice as part of their lease. Okay, so that while they're not on the property, they are part of the lease for the property. The other thing is that we have made, actually my client, Mr. Thibault, has made several attempts to connect with the Baswa Neighborhood Association, first seeking to have a meeting with them or their board. And, you know, due to COVID, that wasn't possible at this time. We offered to have a Zoom meeting like this, and also, you know, offered contact to answer any questions about our proposal and so on. Apparently, they don't have a lot of interest in this. We don't have any formal communication from them, but we did clearly make the effort, you know. So the parking lot, as a typo in the application, referenced the public parking lot at 710 South Avenue. There is no 710 South Avenue, and it's actually 713 South Avenue. There is a minor discrepancy, and discussed this with Anna today, in the resulting, you know, sort of the deficiency in parking that results from the application of the parking plan. City come down with 11. I came down with 17. I believe it's just a difference in the way we use the counted the floor area. By all means, we're willing to subscribe to the 11 that the city has given us. Along those lines, if you've read the application, which I'm sure you have, we have approached this very, very conservatively with respect to the pre-existing deficiency, the parking requirements, floor areas, distances for counting on-street parking, numbers of students and instructors on the site at any given time. And I'm really pleased with that, because even with those sort of worst case scenario assessments, we believe our parking plan essentially covers the need for this property. And that's it. So we seek to approval of a special permit for an alternate parking plan that will accommodate a dance school and public entertainment on the upper level of the property, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday evenings only, from the hours 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. This is not about special permit use. The uses are permitted. It's the alternate parking plan that we seek approval for. I'd like to also briefly characterize, and the code doesn't allow for this, you know, if you've got a dance floor, etc., it's public entertainment, and the maximum parking requirement is applied, and that's what we've gone by in this case. However, this public entertainment will be ancillary to the dance school and secondary to the dance school. It will not be for various forms of entertainment that will have a broad public interest and attraction. I mean, it's not the Auditorium Theater, Water Street Music Hall, or the Main Street Armory, or nothing like that. Instead, this is for a very limited audience with only one kind of music and one kind of band, a swing band providing swing music for dancing. People do not come here to hear the band, see a performance, or to witness a concert. And the experience, after 16 years in this neighborhood, which is quite an advantage in this case to have this sort of track record. The experience has shown that I'll call them dance nights, that 75% of the attendees are students of the dance school. Background in the building, basically, you know, it was constructed around 1912 for a private club, the Union Club, which had originated in New York. Meetings, social events, weddings, political functions, typical functions of private clubs. Later, several years, it was occupied by the Elks Club, a similar private social club, and used for similar purposes. A church occupied the property for several years. So these private clubs and the church were places of assembly and held many similar events. So that's a little bit of a background of the property as it goes all the way back over 100 years. And I just want you to note that in the articles that were attached to the back end of our addendum, that the dances had taken place on this property. Matter of fact, in particular, the Saracen Dance School, there's evidence from 1967 that they used the property to give both individual and group lessons. So based on the fact that this was built as a sort of a place of assembly, a private club, and the fact that it sits on a lot that has never had parking on it, it qualifies as a non-conforming structure, and the pre-existing deficiency that accrues to this structure can be discounted from the parking requirement, from our parking requirement, or the parking requirement of future uses. Once again, there's a couple ways around the block here, but we had assessed that pre-existing deficiency at 77 spaces. The city came up with 100. And again, I think this is due to application of floor areas to establish a pre-existing deficiency as opposed to the current use. So Groove Use has operated in this neighborhood for 16 years, both at 315 Gregory Street as well as at 389 Gregory Street. This use was born and bred in this neighborhood and is a great operating record. There are no prior enforcement activity for this use, and parking has never been a problem. This application really presents a unique opportunity that you don't often have, to have data, a track record, and experience of the application or what's being requested before the fact. So this has been tested, this same use in this neighborhood with its various facets over a lengthy period of time. So you have that even before the fact. So with respect to parking itself, there is no parking requirement for dance schools specifically in the Rochester Code. So we went to the nearest, the closest type of use, and that was business schools, occupational skill schools. That was the closest type of use by definition. And that would yield, for the way we typically use it, which would be 4 instructors and 12 students each at the most, that would yield a requirement for 12 spaces. In this case, we did the worst case scenario thing, and we says, well, there's 12 instructors on the menu, while albeit typically only 4 there at a time. What would be the requirement if we said all 12 there at one time and all 12 with 12 students? That has never occurred in the 16 years of operation, and we don't anticipate it happening in the future. Nonetheless, as a worst case scenario, that would yield a requirement of 36 spaces. So our range was 12 to 36. We then looked at requirements for dance schools in cities that had requirements for dance schools through the APA, I believe, and we came up with 26 spaces, which was within the parameters of the application of the requirement for business schools and occupational skill schools. And we felt that was a very reasonable requirement for this use. Parking requirement for public entertainment, as you know, is based on half the legal occupancy. Legal occupancy in this case being 232 persons. And that would result in a parking requirement of 116 spaces. Frankly, this requirement exaggerates the need for parking in this case. In reality, the swing dancing requires adequate space to do it. we figure at least 12.5 square feet per person, about 25 square feet per couple. So effectively, the 1,800 square foot public entertainment area would hold a maximum of 145 people, and half of that practical maximum occupancy would be 73 rather than 116 spaces. So we had to develop the worst case parking requirement of 142 spaces. So that minus the pre-existing deficiency and the credits that are allowed by code, they would yield a deficiency of 17 spaces. But please note that if this dance school operating first and second level with no, at times when there's no public entertainment, there would be no deficiency whatsoever. And in fact, if the public entertainment was operating in the first level with no lessons on the lower level at the same time, again, the requirements would be covered by our plan. So it is really, it's really an issue that on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturday evenings, between the hours of 5 to 11, that there would be an overall deficiency of up to 17 spaces, 11 per the city. So in terms of our plan, let's check time here. Conformance, the standards for the special permit. There's two, we've addressed them all in our application for the record, but there's two I want to emphasize. And one is conformance with the comprehensive plan. Does the request conform to the plan? In the plan in this case, the 2034 plan outright says that prioritization of on-site parking works against the principles of placemaking. As you remember, the 2034 plan places a very great emphasis on placemaking. Okay, so the plan says that this works against the principles of placemaking, that is, developing more parking lots to meet code requirements, and results not only in an efficient use of land, but also discourages pedestrian activity. And that is not to mention what we know generally to be the effects of oversupplies of parking, effects on urban densities, effects on the environment, and as well as effects on the potential for sustainable urban transportation systems, which is also very important to the plan. And the plan goes further. The plan tells us that as an alternative to the minimum parking requirements, sufficient parking should be provided through the following: shared parking, nearby parking lots, on-street parking, bicycle parking, transit access, and being in a walkable environment. That's exactly the approach we've taken in accord with the plan. And you heard earlier this evening in the very nice presentation you got from your staff that this is going to be built in to the new code, and it'll become law, that potentially minimum parking requirements just go away. And as the director of planning indicated, the manager of planning indicated, you, rather than that, we want to see, how you're going to deal with parking, how it works in your particular area. And again, this is what we've done through this process in accord with the plan. So one of the takeaways of the economic growth section of the plan is that the city needs to focus on growing the number of businesses and employees in the city, as well as fostering entrepreneurship. Groove Juice is an example of entrepreneurship. This is a local business with a local owner and operator that has grown and become successful in this neighborhood. Groove Juice has resisted the all too often temptation to move to a suburban location with droves of parking. Clearly, they have been successful in this neighborhood and don't need a large parking lot to thrive. So the character of the neighborhood certainly is not going to be affected. Again, they've been there 16 years, and the building has been there without parking for over 100 years. And we really think staying in this neighborhood continues to enhance the neighborhood. This is a vibrant commercial district, where uses locate, gain some success and gain some traction, and then they have moved to other locations in this same commercial neighborhood. As has been done, we're seeing for the third time by Groove Juice. It was done by True Yoga, which had additional needs and moved across the street. It was on South Avenue, moved across the street to the west side of the street.
1 minute remaining.
Okay, and Leaf Tea Bar, which I believe is in the process or may have already located from one location on south to another. This flexibility, the ability to reabsorb uses like this and provide for this growth within the city is indicative of a healthy, well-balanced commercial district, one the plan foresees for citywide commercial areas. A district where code parking deficits are not a problem and where developing new parking lots is not an immediate response to success and growth. I'd like Mike to talk a little bit about his business himself and his affinity for this wonderful area.
Thanks, Art. Just like Art said, we've been right on Gregory Street for 16 years, at the German House for 4 years, and for many years at Whiter's Hall, the top floor of Whiter's Hall, back when it was called Tango Cafe. And we're passionate about the dances that we teach, and we would love to continue to teach and host dances in the South Wedge neighborhood, just like we have been doing. We love the neighborhood, we love the street, and we'd love to stay there.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. At this time, we'll ask, are there any questions for the applicant? Any questions? Seeing none, any testimony that has been received for this case?
No testimony.
No testimony. That being said, we will close this case. Thank you, gentlemen, and we will open the new case.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Case number 8, file number E222021, address 420 Hudson Ave, request to establish retail sales and service in a single-story building originally designed for industrial purposes, an action requiring City Planning Commission approval. And I have here that Commissioners Flower, Harding, Marlin, Pichardo, and Watson have all visited the site. And just one person to swear in this evening.
Okay. All right. I will swear the presenter in. Give us your name and your current mailing address for the record.
Yes.
Do you solemnly?
Yeah, you want me to give you my name first?
Let me swear you in first.
Sure.
Reza. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, you may proceed, sir.
My name is Reza Armanish. I'm the architect for this project. Basically, this project is located at 420 Hudson Avenue and right to the north of the Paul buildings, about 150 units there. And also on the corner of Upper Falls and Driving Park, there's a C2 to the apartments are R3, I believe. So now this place used to be utilized by Hudson Steel. Since Hudson Steel closed, this building has been vacant. This property is located in M1 zone. The reason is because Hudson Steel was located there and working from that, those two buildings, 444 Hudson and 420 and 128 Merrimack and 15 Gilmore. So those areas were all that whole, looks like a spot zone, but I'm sure it was there for a long time. So it's still M1. Now the new proposed use that you're proposing for 420 Hudson is a retail, which would be basically, if it was C1, it would be permitted. But since it's an M1, we need this special permit to get approval for the use, the new use. The site itself is about 0.448 acres, about 20,896 square foot. The building that is located presently is a 12-inch block building. In that area, at the front where the tax map changes, which is shown in drawings too, the building is about 9,836, almost 10,000 square foot. What we have done basically changed the exterior face of this building completely. If you notice, I'm sure you all have visited. This is what we are proposing. We are proposing brick to basically harmonize with the DePaul buildings and also the building at the gas station mini mart on the corner of Hudson and Upper Falls. So it's in harmony with that neighborhood area. Also, as you see that I have provided substantial amount of transparency. Usually the area of transparency are between 2 foot and 8 foot, but this one, in order to make it a little bit more prominent and visible from Hudson, so we make the glazing a little bit double stack in order to give it a little bit more prominence. On the south and north side of the building, on the elevation, basically we're just gonna close the 2 clear story windows on top and basically paint the block to somewhat, not exactly match the DePaul, but something that is basically harmonious with the colors that they have. They have like light tan, they have darker brown, they have like a darker red. So we will be harmonious with that. At the front, I have provided 16 parking lot. There was some deficiency, of course. This older deficiency existed. So even though I had shown 4 additional parking on the street, as you see on the site plan, but later the zoning department told me that there was a previous deficiency for the parking area, so you don't need to even show that, but I left it since it was shown. Additionally, we have increased the green space, about 3,010 square feet of green space, some landscaping. Also, as you see, there is a pet walk, pedestrian walk, which is stamped concrete in order to bring people from Hudson, at least it would be accessible and invitable. Pretty much that's in a nutshell. Inside, basically the use is what they're planning to use the space, sell clothes, sell shoes, sell beauty supplies, hairs, makeup. Those are the product that right now the present owner would like to provide to the public. That's about it. If you have any question, I'm open, please.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions for the applicant?
I have one. Is the applicant proposing to be the retailer him or herself, or is it proposed that this would be leased out to 4 separate, or I don't know if it's 4, I know it says there'd be 4 employees, but it wasn't clear to me whether there would also be potential lessees.
Yes, actually, the owner of the building, they have a mini mart a little bit south of that other church is 192. I can't remember. They have a property there. They said kind of a mini mart. So they're going to operate this themselves. They are not going to lease it. Now to the back, there's actually, if you see on the site plan, there's 2 tax maps. One is to the right, one is to the right, to the left. Basically on the east and on the west. We are dividing the building right at where the property tax line is located. So the back for now, the back area or the eastern portion of the building, they're leaving it as it is. We are not touching it. Mainly we are concentrating on the western portion of the building, which is basically that's where the property starts. Technically, there are two properties, even though it shows one long stretched building, but there is a property line right where that new block or a lighter green is showing between the two parcels.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for the applicant? Any other questions? All right, hearing none. Anna, do we have any comments or testimony that wasn't received?
Nope, no testimony.
Okay, that being said, we will close this case. Thank you, sir.
Yes, I have one comment, if I may.
Yes.
I have discussed this with Cornelia, Mr. David Carr. I have sent the drawings to him to get feedback. They're the neighborhood association for that area. And it was a positive feedback.
Thank you so
That's
much.
all.
Appreciate that. All right, that being said, we will close this case and we'll have the next case, please. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Case number 9, file number E23-2021. This is a special permit. The address is 432 Chilai Avenue. The request is to expand a previously approved charter school, Rochester Prep, from 315 students to 420, an action requiring City Planning Commission approval. And Commissioners Flower, Harding, Marlin, and Pichardo and Watson have all visited the site. And I believe we have Miss Betsy Brugg here to present.
Great. And there's Betsy. All right, Betsy, hello, I will swear you in and then give us your response to the swearing in and your name and your current mailing address, and then we'll let you proceed.
Sure.
All right. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right. Your name and address?
Great. I'm Betsy Brugg. I'm an attorney with the firm of Woods, Oviatt Gilman. Our office is at 1900 Bauschelon Place.
And you
So
may
I'm here.
proceed.
I'm here on the application tonight. However, I did send in a request to adjourn and hold this over to next month. The reason being that as with the other schools that you've seen recently, our other applications, we are working through a traffic plan to ensure that we address all of the concerns and issues related to bus and parent drop off, pickup, loading, unloading. And we've been going back and forth with the Monroe County DOT. We got our latest round of response to our response on Friday evening, and we just haven't had a chance to regroup. I'm very confident that we'll be able to address any of the issues and be prepared hopefully for next month.
Okay.
But we're just not prepared to move forward tonight.
I understand. So that being said, I will ask the commissioners, all those who would like to hold us over till the next meeting, please indicate by raising your hand or saying yes.
Brad Flower, yes.
Kim Harding, yes.
Eugenio Marlin, yes.
Milton Pichardo, yes.
And Dave Watson, yes. So we will hold this case over. Anna, we did have some testimony coming in late. I think as we did with the other one that we held over, we'll add this to the staff report so that'll be on the record. People can see that before the next meeting.
Anna, was there anyone that made reservations to speak?
Oh,
You're muted.
No, just a written comment.
Okay. Yes, so those comments submitted will be part of the staff report when this comes back to the Planning Commission.
Yep. Right. Thank you, Betsy. So you're all set?
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you next month.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All
Have
right,
a good
take
night.
care.
Bye-bye.
All right. That being said, that was the last case for the evening. So what we will do, we will adjourn for, what is it? 26. Let's reconvene at 8:45, about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And we'll reconvene to deliberate for the cases that we have.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. See you in a few minutes.